devotees, bhakti yogis, and even jnanis. Both of them have these 17 qualities which are common. And there is one quality which is only there for bhakti yogis. And there are two qualities which are for jnana yogis especially. Devotees do not focus so much on those two qualities. So what is the criteria? Can anyone say which quality among this 20 items of knowledge is one quality is mainly for devotees only, that they focus on that one quality. 17 qualities are okay for both jnanis and bhaktas also, and there are two qualities which are mainly for jnanis. Anyone can say something about this, which all qualities are there for? Okay, Shantanu Prabhu.
Guruji, Mai Chananya Yogena Bhaktiravya Vicharani. That
Very
is
good.
for devotees.
So devotees focus mainly on this only. Which quality is so 17 qualities? The first 17 qualities are common to everyone, and which qualities are mainly for jnanis?
Guruji, Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam and Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam.
Yeah, yeah. So the last two qualities which are mentioned, they are mainly for jnanis. Devotees do not put a special effort for that thing. So now my question to all of you: whenever such a discussion about qualities come, so do we have to really work upon cultivating qualities? Or do you think that if you automatically do bhakti yoga very nicely, chanting, reading, hearing, sadhana, and everything, these qualities will automatically manifest? How many of you say, you can raise your hands, there is a need of a special effort to cultivate qualities? Okay, Sumit Prabhu is saying, Mandar Prabhu is also saying, okay, okay, fine. Some of you are saying that there is a need of a special effort to put a quality. And how many of you say, Arre, don't focus on cultivating qualities so much. Just chant, read here, and these qualities will automatically come. Okay. Some of you are saying that just chant, read here. So, yeah, both of the devotees are correct. So, first of all, how do devotees do cultivation of qualities? Devotees actually, if you see the definition of uh, pure devotional service, अन्याभिलाषिता शून्यम ज्ञान कर्मादि अनावृतम आनुकूल्येन कृष्णानु शीलनम भक्तिरुत्तमम. So whatever is anukul for practicing of bhakti, that also comes under the purview of bhakti. So we don't do special effort for cultivating these qualities in one way. But whenever these qualities are focused upon, let's say cleanliness. Now, yeah, one way surely we keep on chanting cleanliness, the mind will come. But if we take out a special effort, that is also pleasing to Krishna. We take out a special effort for cleanliness. Or another reason is if we do not cultivate these qualities, then we may offend devotees also. We are staying in association of devotees, and that will not be anukul for practice of bhakti. So if you see in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, so much focus was there. Do this qualities are such a devotee is very pleasing to me, such a devotee is very dear to me, such a devotee is very dear to me. So now if Krishna is telling that these are the qualities of the people, those who are very dear to me. So now you may say कि he has not asked us to cultivate this quality, but he's only saying that this is very dear to me. Now suppose if I say, Prabhu, actually mango juice is very dear to me. Mango juice is very dear to me. Mango juice is very dear to me. If every class, whenever I meet any devotee, if I say mango juice is very dear to me, then although I'm not saying, Prabhu, give me mango juice today, but in case if you give, then naturally that is very pleasing, no? If you see, Krishna never asked do this, do this, do that, but there are certain ways, certain quality, certain times he has told also this quality is to be cultivated. But yes, so by practicing bhakti, these qualities will automatically come. But when there is an effort done, so that is also called as bhakti, because these qualities are done with the intention of pleasing Krishna. So that is also bhakti. So in the last class, Prabhu, we discussed about certain qualities. Till simplicity we have discussed, non-violence, tolerance, and simplicity. Today we'll continue from cleanliness, and we have to go today a little faster. So mainly we'll go through Srila Prabhupada purports and translation, and in between I'll take some commentaries from Baldev Vidyabhushan. So we'll read from cleanliness. Yes, bro. Shantanu, bro, you can allocate the devotee. I'll just.
Yes, Prabhuji. Aradhan Prabhu.
If you are able to see, or
Yes, bro.
do you want to make it
Uh,
little more zoom?
A little bigger would be
Now,
Prabhuji,
better.
can you increase the font?
okay.
Uh, this is better.
Cleanliness.
Cleanliness is, am I audible?
Yes, sure. Very clear.
Cleanliness is essential for making advancement in spiritual life. There are two kinds of cleanliness, external and internal. External cleanliness means taking a bath, but for internal cleanliness, one has to think of Krishna always and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This process cleans the accumulated dust of past karma from the mind.
So yeah, Srila Prabhupada, whenever one good thing about, means one amazing thing about Srila Prabhupada is, if you see every paragraph which is written, every quality, Srila Prabhupada has given us his purport and translation, but this is from some Upanishad or somewhere. So this is from I don't know what is how it we pronounce. Shalin Shalindya Upanishad, something like that it comes. I'm sorry, I'm not able to pronounce the name of that Upanishad. So there, this definition of cleanliness is mentioned. That there are two kinds of cleanliness. Internal cleanliness by cleaning the mind, and external cleanliness means taking a bath. So yeah, and especially they mention bath. Bath means contact of two things: contact of mud and contact of water. Baldev Debushan writes, if these two things touch a body, mud and water, that is external cleanliness. And as soon as any mantra chants touches the mind, that is internal cleanliness. Yes, Prabhu, please continue.
Yes, Freddy. Steadiness. Steadiness means that one should be very determined to make progress in spiritual life. Without such determination, one cannot make tangible progress. And self control means that one should not accept anything which is detrimental to the path of spiritual progress. One should become accustomed to this and reject anything which is against the path of spiritual progress. This is real renunciation. The senses are so strong that they are always anxious to have sense gratification. One should not cater to these demands which are not necessary. The senses should only be gratified to keep body fit so that one can discharge his duties in advancing in spiritual life. The most important and uncontrollable sense is the tongue. If you can control the tongue, then there is every possibility of controlling the other senses. The function of tongue is to taste and to vibrate. Therefore, by systematic regulation, the tongue should always be engaged in tasting the remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna and chanting Hare Krishna. As far as the eyes are concerned, they should not be allowed to see anything but the beautiful form of Krishna. That will control the eyes. Similarly, the ears should be engaged in hearing about Krishna and nose in smelling the flowers offered to Krishna. This is process of devotional service. And it is understood here that Bhagavad Gita is simply expounding the science of devotional service. Devotional service is main and sole objective. Unintelligent commentators of Bhagavad Gita try to divert the mind of the reader to other subjects, but there is no other subject in Bhagavad Gita than devotional service. False ego means accepting this body as oneself. When one understands that he is not his body and his spirit soul, he comes to his real ego. Ego is there. False ego is condemned, but not real ego. In Vedic literature, Brahad Aranyaka Upanishad 1:4-10, it is said, Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman, I am spirit. This I am. The sense of self also exists in the liberated stage of self realization. This sense of I am is ego. But when the sense of I am is applied to this false body, it is false ego. When the sense of self is applied to reality, that is real ego. There are also some philosophers who say we should give up our ego, but we cannot give up our ego. because ego means identity. We ought, of course, to give up the false identification with the body.
Yes, bro.
One
So
should try to.
in this chapter, we
Yes.
find that's why ego doesn't have to be given up. We say false ego we should give up, and we should cultivate true ego because ego is our identity. And this entire chapter, that is one of the very famous focus to give us ego. What is the right ego? Because as soon as there is an ego, there is an activity corresponding to it. Like if I if I imagine that I'm a policeman, then immediately I'll try to means if I imagine or if I'm as soon as that position is given to me, you are a police officer. So immediately police officer, then all that activities will come. If I say I'm a kitchen in charge, so tomorrow onwards I'm told kitchen in charge. Immediately mind will start thinking about kitchen, sabji and items and offerings and which item to make, which festival. So as soon as an identity is given, all other things rotate around that. So if the identity is improper, then if we think we are body, then we rotate around sense gratification. So ego, true ego is important. Yes, someone else can read too.
Yes, Guruji. Arjun Sarthi Guruji.
Yeah. One should try to understand the distress of accepting birth, death, old age, and disease. There are descriptions in various Vedic literatures of birth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the world of the unborn, the child's say in the womb of the mother, its suffering, etc., are all very graphically described. It should be thoroughly understood that birth is distressful because we forget how much distress we have suffered within the womb of the mother. We do not make any solution to the repetition of birth and death. Similarly, at the time of death, there are all kinds of sufferings, and they are also mentioned in the authoritative scriptures. This should be discussed. And as far as disease and old age are concerned, everyone gets practical experience. No one wants to be diseased and no one wants to become old. But there is no avoiding this. Unless we have a pessimistic view of this material life, considering the distress of birth, death, old age, and disease, there is no impetus for our making advancement in spiritual life. As for the detachment from the children, wife, and home, it is not meant that one should have no feelings for these. They are natural objects of affection. But when they are not favorable to spiritual progress, then one should not be attached to them. The best process for making the home pleasant is Krishna consciousness. If one is in full Krishna consciousness, he can make his home very happy because this process of Krishna consciousness is very easy. One need only chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Accept the remnants of the foodstuffs offered to Krishna. Have some discussions on the books like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and engage oneself in the deity worship. These four things will make one happy. One should train the members of his family in this way. The family members can sit down morning and evening and chant together Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. If one can mold his family life in this way to develop Krishna consciousness, following these four principles, then there is no need to change from family life to the renounced life. But if it is not congenial, not favorable for spiritual advancement, then family life should be abandoned. One must sacrifice everything to realize or serve Krishna, just as Arjuna did. Arjuna did not want to kill his family members, but when he understood that these family members were impediments to his Krishna, impediments to his Krishna realization, he accepted the instruction of Krishna and fought and killed them. In all cases, one should be detached from the happiness and distress of the family life. Because in this world, one can never be fully happy or fully miserable. Happiness and distress are concomitant factors of material life. One should learn to tolerate, as advised in the Bhagavad Gita. One can never restrict the coming and going of happiness and distress. So one should be detached from the materialistic way of life and be automatically equipoised in both cases. Generally, when we get something desirable, we are very happy, and when we get something undesirable, we are distressed. But if we are actually in the spiritual position, these things will not agitate us. We reach that stage. To reach that stage, we have to practice unbreakable devotional service. Devotional service to Krishna without deviation means engaging oneself in the nine processes of devotional service: chanting, hearing, worshipping, offering respect, etc., as described in the last verse of the ninth chapter. That process should be followed.
Yeah, so we discussed certain qualities till now here, that happiness and distress, the manapamanayo, then Uttradhara, Grihadishu. So these are qualities are mainly Prabhupada gave about how to mold a life of family. Srila Prabhupada also mentioned about pessimistic view towards material life. So sometimes devotees are asked, are you pessimistic or are you optimistic? The devotee sometimes that time answer, we are neither pessimistic, neither we are optimistic, we are realistic. So we have to know reality. So for material life, Prabhupada said one should develop pessimistic view of life. Pessimistic means negative, because material life is designed. The creator of the life only has done like that. At 100% dissatisfaction guaranteed. So the product manufacturer has only written 100% dissatisfaction guaranteed. So that's, we should accept it as the reality. But at the same time, he has also guaranteed that if you practice Krishna consciousness, 100% satisfaction guaranteed. So we accept that as a that. So for that, we are very optimistic or basically realistic. We are. Yes, Proji. So next, someone else can read. Very big purport, but very purport itself is very self-explanatory. That's why we are not going into details.
Asim Prabha Prabhu.
Yes, sir. Naturally, when one is adapted to the spiritual way of life, he will not want to mix with materialistic men. That would go against his grain. One may test himself by seeing how far he is inclined to live in a solitary place without unwanted association. Naturally, a devotee has no taste for unnecessary sporting or cinema, going or enjoying some social function, because he understands that these are simply a waste of time. There are many research scholars and philosophers who study sex life or some other subject, but according to Bhagavad Gita, such research work and philosophical speculation have no value. That is more or less nonsensical. According to Bhagavad Gita, one should make research by philosophical discretion into the nature of the soul. One should make research to understand the self. That is recommended here. As far as self-realization is concerned, it is clearly stated here that Bhakti Yoga is especially practical. As soon as there is a question of devotion, one must consider the relationship between the super soul and the individual soul. The individual soul and the super soul cannot be one, at least not in the Bhakti conception, the devotional conception of life. This service of the individual soul to the Supreme Soul is eternal, nityam, as it is clearly stated. So, bhakti or devotional service is eternal. One should be established in that philosophical conviction.
Okay, some other devotee can read.
BLM Sekar Prabhu.
In the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.11, this is explained. Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yach jnanam advayam. Those who are actually knowers of the absolute truth know that the self is realized in three different phases as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the last word in the realization of the absolute truth. Therefore, one should reach up to that platform of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus engage in the devotional service of the Lord. That is the perfection of knowledge. Beginning from practicing humility up to the point of realization of the Supreme Truth, the absolute personality of Godhead, this process is just like a staircase, beginning from the ground floor and going up to the top floor. Now, on this staircase, there are so many people who have reached the first floor, the second, or the third floor, etc. But unless one reaches the top floor, which is the understanding of Krishna, he is at a lower stage of knowledge. If anyone wants to compete with God and at the same time make advancement in spiritual knowledge, he will be frustrated. It is clearly stated that without humility, understanding is not truly possible. To think oneself God is most puffed up. Although the living entity is always being kicked by the stringent laws of material nature, he still thinks, I am God, because of ignorance. The beginning of knowledge, therefore, is amanitva, humility. One should be humble and know that he is subordinate to the he is subordinate to the Supreme Lord. Due to rebellion against the Supreme Lord, one becomes subordinate to material nature. One must know and be convinced of this truth.
Yes, so these are the 20 items, and among which Amanitva, Srila Prabhupada is stressing, Amanitva is the most basic one, the most vital and important one. And if you see, that's why in almost all the Shikshashtakam and everywhere this Amanitva, humility, Trinadapi quality comes. And Prabhupada, there is one lecture by Param Pujya Radhanath Maharaj where he mentions about these two qualities, humility and gratitude. And then that time he mentions these two qualities, humility and gratitude. They are the womb of all good qualities. So he said if these two qualities are there, humility and gratitude, he mentions that all other good qualities will automatically develop in such a person. So first we have a humility. So till now, we find here that Krishna has explained about these qualities. So now he has sufficiently explained what is the process for gaining the knowledge. So now earlier Arjuna had asked about what is Gneyam. What is okay? You told me that this is the way to acquire knowledge. This is a process for attaining knowledge. But I had not. I had asked you what? I had asked you about what is to be known. What is a object of knowledge, or what is to be known? Gneyam. And so, what are the real objects of knowledge? So, just mention the real object means what is the real thing to be known is these two things: the Jivatma and Paramatma, and the relationship between these two, Jivatma and Paramatma. So in the upcoming shlokas from 13 chapter, 13 verses to ahead, there will be a lot of focus about what is Jivatma, what is Paramatma, what is the difference between two. And there is one verse where people have misunderstanding about Jivatma is Paramatma. If you just check today in the world, there are so many different spiritual paths which say Jivatma is only Paramatma, Atma hi Paramatma hai. So many people. So there are chances that one may get distracted. So in the next upcoming shlokas, if you see Srila Prabhupada, in every purport, he will hit on this one point only. That how Jivatma and Paramatma are not one, Paramatma is special one, and the qualities of Paramatma. So all these answers about what is Paramatma will come in this 13th chapter in the upcoming verses. Because when our true ego is affected, then everything gets corrupted. So here we find that's why this ego has to be made very proper. So this our identity has to be very clear. So in the upcoming 13th shloka, Shri Krishna is saying, if you know this knowable, that is Gneyam, then you will get Amrutam. You will attain Amrut in your life. You will get Amrutam Ashnute, that word comes. So in the 13th shloka, and he says about what is Jiva. So we'll explain in the 13th shloka about what is Jiva. And he mentions Jiva is something which is beginningless, and is Anadi Matparam, he is subordinate to me, and is beyond the cause and effect of this world. So sometimes Jiva is also referred to Brahman. And Brahman means Atma. So Aham Brahmasmi, हम कहते हैं ना हम Brahmasmi. That is, we are also, I am spirit soul. But there are chances that people may misunderstand this Brahman to be Parabrahman. So that's why there will be great discussion about what is Brahman and what is Parabrahman. Both are not the same. So let's look into verse number 13. And he said, by knowing this, one will attain liberation, one will attain Amrutam. So 13th shloka. ज्ञेयं यत्तत् प्रवक्ष्यामि यज्ञात्वामृतमश्नुते अनादिमत्परं ब्रह्म न सत्तन्नाशदुच्यते. Yes, Prabhu. Please, someone can read.
Vibhu Prabhu.
Okay. I shall now explain the knowable knowing which you will taste the eternal. Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world.
Yes, Prabhu. Go on, Purport.
The Lord has explained the field of activities and the knower of the field. He has also explained the process of knowing the knower of the field of activities. Now he begins to explain the knowable, first the soul and then the supersoul. By knowledge of the knower, both the soul and the supersoul, one can release the nectar of life. As explained in the second chapter, the living entity is eternal. This is also confirmed here. There is no specific date at which the Jiva was born, nor can anyone trace out the history of the Jivatma's manifestation from the Supreme Lord. Therefore, it is beginningless. The Vedic literature confirms this. Najayate mriyate ba ba vipaschit. Katha Upanishad 1.2.18. The knower of the body is never born and never dies, and he is full of knowledge. The Supreme Lord as the Super Soul is also stated in the Vedic literature, Swatasthara Upanishad 6.16, to be Pradhana Kshetrajna Patir Gunesa, the chief knower of the body and the master of the three modes of material nature. In the Smriti it is said, Daso Bhuto Harir Eva Nanisaiva Kadachana. The living entities are eternally in the service of the Supreme Lord. This is also confirmed by Lord Chaitanya in his teaching. Therefore, the description of the of Brahman mentioned in this verse is in relation to the individual soul. And when the word Brahman is applied to the living entity, is to be understood that he is Vijnana Brahma, as opposed to Ananda Brahma. Ananda Brahma is the supreme Brahman personality of Godhead.
Prabhu. So here it is mentioned that this is a shloka which creates confusion for the Jnanis and Mayavadis because the word Brahman is used. And they imagine that this Brahman is actually Parabrahman. But here it is said that Brahman, the one which is used here, is for soul, individual soul. And it is not Ananda Brahma. Ananda Brahma means one is full of bliss. That is complete bliss. That is only Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this creates confusion for the people. So that's why already it has been mentioned that this shloka refers to the individual soul and not to the Parabrahman. And the next shloka onwards, Krishna will mention some qualities about the super soul. What are the qualities of super soul? So what will happen? So till now the soul is being spoken about, and suddenly the qualities of super soul are given. And if we do not know that these are the qualities of super soul, we'll imagine that we are only that super soul. So he will mention about how his hands and legs are everywhere, he's all pervading, and so that will create a confusion. That's why from 14 shloka number 14 to shloka number 18, upcoming 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, five shlokas, uh, Krishna is going to speak about what are the qualities of super soul. So we'll just quickly go through. These are all very, very famous shlokas, which many of you might have recited before also. So we'll quickly go through the qualities of a super soul. So first quality of a super soul, shloka number 14. Sarvata panipadam tat सर्वतो शिरोमुखम् सर्वतः श्रुतिमल्लोके सर्वम् आवृत्य तिष्ठति.
चंद्रभूषण प्रभु.
Yes, Prabhuji. Everywhere, translation. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads, and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the super soul exists, pervading everything.
So basically, here it is said, everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes and heads, and everywhere. So super soul is all pervading. So sometimes people do ask this question that Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. And you can just read this one. I'll just will not go through entire purport now. I'll whatever some underlined portion, I'll try to read. Read from here.
The Supreme Lord can extend his hands without limit. The individual soul cannot. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that if anyone offers him a flower or a fruit or a little water, he accepts it. If the Lord is a far distance away, how can he accept things? This is the omnipotence of the Lord. Even though he is situated in his own abode, far, far away from earth, he can extend his hand to accept without any offers. That is his potency. In Brahma Samhita 5.37, it is stated, Golok eva nivasti akhilatma bhuta. Although he is always engaged in pastimes in his transcendental planet, he is all pervading. The individual soul cannot claim that he is all pervading. Therefore, this verse describes the supreme soul, the personality of Godhead, not the individual soul.
So this is a clear description. But just imagine if you do not have Bhaktivedanta purports and if you do not have Acharya commentaries, so much confusion will come in the life of people. It is said because initially Brahman is being mentioned. And then it is said all where are his hands and legs and all. Now, and this is a discussion about super soul. So there are two Kshetragnya which are being talked about. So we have to in every shloka we have to always understand this which Kshetragnya is being spoken about. Kshetragnya means knower of the field. So there are two Kshetragnyas, one is soul and one is super soul. And in upcoming shlokas we are mainly discussing about qualities of a super soul. Okay, so in the next shloka, we'll go for next shloka. सर्वेन्द्रिय गुणाभाषां सर्वेन्द्रिय विवर्जितम् असक्तं सर्ववृच्चैव निर्गुणं गुणभोक्तृ च. So here this word very special word which is coming here is nirgunam. And as you know, Srila Prabhupada will focus whenever this arupam, nirgunam, such word will come. Srila Prabhupada and all acharyas will go there and highlight that word very much. So these two words sometimes create a very big trouble, na? Arupam. So he said Lord is arupam. Lord doesn't have any rupam. And Lord is nirgunam. That's why they say na nirakar brahma, nirakar, nirgun brahma. So what is meaning of nirgun and what is meaning of nirakar? That will come in the shloka. Yes, bro. Someone can read.
दर्शन बेंद्रे प्रभु.
Yes, bro. The super soul is the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. He is unattached. Although he is the maintainer of all living beings, he transcends the mode of nature, and at the same time, he is the master of all the modes of material nature. Purport: the Supreme Lord, although the source of all the senses of the living entities, doesn't have material senses like they have. Actually, the individual souls have spiritual senses, but in conditioned life, they are covered with the material elements, and therefore, the sense activities are exhibited through matter. The Supreme Lord's senses are not so covered. His senses are transcendental and are therefore called nirguna. Guna means the material modes, but his senses are without material coverings. It should be understood that his senses are not exactly like ours. Although he is the source of all our sensory activities, he has his transcendental senses which are uncontaminated. This is very nicely explained in the Shveteshwar Upanishad 3.19 in the verse Apani Pado Jivano Grihita. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no hands which are materially contaminated, but he has his hands and accepts whatever sacrifice is offered to him. That is the distinction between the conditioned soul and the super soul. He has no material eyes, but he has eyes. Otherwise, how could he see? He sees everything, past, present, and future. He lives within the heart of the living being, and he knows that, and he knows what we have done in the past, what we are doing now, and what is awaiting us in the future. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. He knows everything, but no one knows him. It is said that the Supreme Lord has no legs like us, but he can travel throughout the space because he has spiritual legs. In other words, the Lord is not impersonal. He has his eyes, legs, hands, and everything else. And because we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, we also have these things. But his hands, legs, eyes, and senses are not contaminated by material nature.
Yeah, so basically, whenever it is said nirgunam or arupam, because till now we have conception only of material rupa. That's why we feel that okay, Lord should not have at least material rupa like us, because material rupa is so frustrating and so much pain producing. And nirguna, that Lord should not be affected by this. Lord should not have any gunas or any kind of qualities or anything should be there. He should be without any qualities. So here nirguna is especially mentioned about he is not affected by material modes, not that he is not having any form or not having any qualities. So everything is spiritual. So in the last paragraph, you can just read this one line. Srila Prabhupada is writing about although. Yes, bro, please read. I guess yeah, you're muted, Prabhu Darshan, bro.
Yes, Prabhuji. Although we do not see his head, face, hands, or legs, he has them. And when we are elevated to the transcendental situation, we can see the Lord's form. Due to materially contaminated senses, we cannot see his form. Therefore, the impersonalists who are still materially affected cannot understand the personality of Godhead.
Yeah, so I said this is the reason. So Ata Shri Krishna Namadi Na Bhavet Grahya Mindriye Sevan Mukhe Hi Jivadho Swayam Eva Spurati Yada. So Krishna's name, form, pastimes, and all, they begin when we begin the service, they cannot be understood through materially contaminated senses. But when we engage the senses, especially tongue, in glorification of Lord, soon these things are realized. So this is again the discussion about soul and super soul. So in the 16th shloka, till now, he's just mentioning more and more about that. In the last shloka, 14th shloka, he mentioned how Lord is all pervading. In the 15th shloka, Lord he mentions about Lord is transcendental to modes. So 15th shloka speaks about Lord is transcendental to modes. 14th shloka speaks about Lord is all pervading. And the next more shlokas will say about how Lord is not divided, never divided, and how Lord is the knowledge, is a object of knowledge. So till 18 will quickly just recite shloka and translation. Yes, bro, 16th. Someone can read?
Shloka also, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Okay, धैर्यवान राम प्रभु.
Is true. बहिरन्तस्य भूतानाम् अचरं चरम् एव च सूक्ष्मत्वात् तद् अभिज्ञेयं दूरस्थं चानित्ये च तत्. Translation: The supreme truth exists outside and inside of all living beings, the moving and non-moving, because he is subtle. He is beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, is also near to all. Purport.
Yeah, so
In
basically, again, here in this purport, again, is going to say, Lord is residing inside and outside of everything, and is always engaged in transcendental bliss. And we cannot understand that he's enjoying the full opulences, but there is a way given. You can just read this one, where it is mentioned. Therefore, in the Vedic literature, yeah, from here
yeah.
you can read.
Therefore, in the Vedic Therefore, in the Vedic language, it is said that to understand him, our material mind and senses cannot act. But one who has purified his mind and senses by practicing Krishna consciousness in devotional service can see him constantly. It is confirmed in Brahma Samhita that the devotee who has developed love for the Supreme God can see him always without cessation. And it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that he can be seen and understood only by devotional service. Bhakti atva ananya sakya.
Hmm. भक्त्या त्वनन्य शक्य अहमेव विदो अर्जुन ज्ञातुं दृष्टुं च तत्त्वेन प्रविशन्तु परन्तप. So yeah, next shloka. So 17, sometimes now it is said, if super soul and soul both are present in every body. Now super soul is only one. And if super soul is present in every body, how it is possible? So Mayavadis and the Jnanis, they consider an example of, like, is super soul divided? Like, if I take a piece of paper, if I take a piece of paper and I make it into two parts, then it will become two papers. If I make it into four, it will become four papers. If I keep on breaking and so many millions of living entities, then the paper will almost be extinguished only. Paper will not be there. It will become extinct. So is super soul also like this? Is super soul also divided? So the 17th shloka of Bhagavad Gita, that will mention about that super soul divided or not divided. So that is 17th shloka. अविभक्तं च भूतेषु विभक्तम् इव च स्थितं भूतभ्रातृर्च तज्ज्ञेयं ग्रश्नीषु प्रभविष्णु च.
धीरज विभूते प्रभु.
Yes, Prabhu. Translation. Although the super soul happens to be divided among all beings, he is never divided. He is situated as a God. Although he is the maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all. Shall I read?
Yes, Ruki, you can quickly read. Simple but quickly read. You can read.
Yes. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart as the super soul. Does this mean that he is become divided? No. Actually, he is a one. The example is given of the sun. The sun at the meridian is situated in its place. But if one goes for 5,000 miles in all directions and asks, where is the sun? Everyone will say that it is shining on his head. In the Vedic literature, this example is given to show that although he is undivided, he is situated as if divided. Although it is said in a Vedic literature that one Vishnu is present everywhere by his omnipotence. Just as the sun appears in many places, many persons, and the Supreme Lord, although the maintainer of every living entity, devours everything at the time of annihilation. This was confirmed in the 11th chapter when the Lord said that he had come to devour all the warriors assembled at Kshetra. He also mentioned that in the form of time, he devours also. He is the annihilator, the killer of all. When there is a creation, he develops all from their original state, and at the time of annihilation, he devours them. The Vedic hymns confirm that he is the origin of all living entities and rest of all. After creation, everything rests in his omnipotence, and after annihilation, everything again returns to the rest to him. These are the confirmation of Vedic hymns. Yatova imani tani jayan येन जातानि जीवन्ति यत् प्रयन्ति अभिशां विशन्ति तद् ब्रह्म तद् विजिज्ञान तैत्रेय उपनिषद युगम.
Yeah. So basically, there's a description about is super soul. He's never divided. although he appears to be divided, and how is maintainer of all beings, and by his Kala Shakti or time and creator. So now a little more information is given about super soul, that how the Lord is source of all the light in all the luminous objects, whether it is moon or whether it is sun, and he is beyond the darkness of matter. And there is one very important word which comes, Jnanam, Gneyam, Jnanagamyam. So in case you cannot memorize the shloka, at least remember these three words, Jnanam, Gneyam, Jnanagamyam. So, and Riddhi Sarvasya Vishtitam. So, in the very first class, I had asked you about one exercise. Whatever questions you want to ask about soul and super soul, please write down in the chat. So, that time you had written many questions, I have saved it. So, in that, all these answers are by step getting covered. That where is super soul situated, what is the size of super soul, and uh, whether super soul gets divided, how the super soul existed. So all these questions are getting answered. So this is the last shloka which is mentioning about in the 18th, what are the qualities of super soul. So we'll not go into deep into purport. You can just read the translation and shloka. Okay. ज्योतिषामपि तज्ज्योतिस् तमसः परमुच्यते ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं च ज्ञानगम्यं हृदि सर्वस्य विष्टितम्. So this is a very important word. Jnanam, Gneyam, Jnanagamyam. And it is said Jyotisam. Jyotisam means all the luminous object. So all luminous objects get its Jyoti from this Supreme Lord. Tamasa, and it is beyond the darkness, beyond the tamas. And Gnyanam, Gneyam, Jnanagamyam. So he said, Lord is the knowledge, Lord is the object of knowledge, and this is being mentioned here. Yes, Prabhu. Please read. Translation.
Gautam Prabhu.
He is the source of light in all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge and he is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart.
Yes, Prabhu. So we'll not go into detail. Basically, into this purport, the same things are being mentioned here again. That how Lord is source of all light in luminous objects, and in spiritual world there is no need of such things. That's why there is no need of electricity, sun and moon. Which shloka of Bhagavad Gita tells this? Natad bhashyate suryu. In the 15th shloka, 15th chapter, this shloka will come. So said in spiritual world there is no need of such things of any luminous object, because Lord himself is the luminous objects. As a Paramatma also, he has that this luminosity. And I'll highlight one line which can be read is, one must surrender onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead if he at all wants to liberation. And as far as the goal of ultimate knowledge is confirmed, he said, only by knowing him one can surpass the boundary of birth and death. So Supreme Personality of the Godhead, here it is said, what all things he said? He is the object of knowledge. He is to be known. So somebody wants to do research work. Sometimes we say, no, we have to do research, PhD research. So who is the object of knowledge? Supreme Lord. Who is the goal of knowledge? What should be known after that knowledge? Supreme Lord. Jnanam, and he is the knowledge. So Jnanam, Gneyam, Jnanagamyam. Jnanagamyam means the goal of knowledge. Gneyam means object of knowledge, and Jnanam. He is the this. So in the now next shloka, I think this may be the last shloka we may be able to take. We'll try to complete till 20th. So in this 19th shloka, Krishna is going to say about Krishna is a very good teacher. And a good teacher, he summarizes whatever he has taught. So like we are also trying to summarize again and again about what Krishna, how Krishna is, because we have to again and again revise. So good teacher, he tries to summarize till now what all things I have spoken, whether you understood or not understood. So in the 19th shloka, it's a summary of whatever things have been spoken till now. So in case you have missed some vital shlokas, some revision helps us, summary helps us to understand. In case we have missed some shloka, so this shloka will help us. We'll just recite this shloka. Iti kshetram tatha jnanam ज्ञेयं चोक्तं समासता मद्भक्त एतद्विज्ञाय मद्भाव्यायोपपद्यते. Yes, for translation.
Himanshu Prabhu.
Krishna Bhushan. Translation: thus field of the activities, knowledge and knowable have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attains to my nature. Shall I continue, Prabhuji?
You can read
Purport.
you can read.
Uh, the Lord is described in summary the body, knowledge, and knowable. Knowledge is of three things: the knower, the knowable, and the process of knowing. Combined, these are called Vijnana or the science of knowledge. Perfect knowledge can be stood by the unalloyed devotees of the Lord directly. Others are unable to understand. Now, monists say that at the ultimate stage, these three items become one. The devotees do not accept this. Knowledge and development of the rest means uh, means understanding one's self in Krishna consciousness. We are being led by material consciousness, but as soon as we transfer all consciousness to Krishna's activities and realize Krishna is everything, then we attain the real knowledge. In other words, knowledge is nothing but the preliminary stage of understanding devotional service perfect. In the 15th chapter, this will be very clearly explained.
Yeah, so you can just read the now last paragraph of this about yeah, there's three items.
The three items have described the field of the activity, the body, the process of understanding, and both the soul and soul. It is especially described here that only unalloyed devotees of the Lord can understand these three items clearly. For these devotees, Bhagavad Gita is fully useful. It is they who can attain the supreme goal, the nature of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. In other words, only devotees and not other can understand Bhagavad Gita and derive desired result.
Yeah, so you see, only devotees can actually understand Bhagavad Gita and derive the result. So here in this shloka, if you want to give a title, you can give a title as what are the qualifications to understand the knowledge which is given till now, soul, super soul, and all. So I said only devotee. He can understand in the true sense. What is jnanam, what is gneyam, jnanagamyam, what is kshetra, what is kshetrajna. So said this all items can be understood only by a devotee in a proper sense and no one else. So in this shloka, he summarized what all things have been taught till now and what is the qualification to understand what has been taught. So now again he will go back. Again he will go back. In the meantime, when he was explaining about Kshetra and he was explaining about Kshetragnya, that what is soul and what is super soul, Krishna said, okay, don't worry, I'm going to tell you everything about very detailed manner. So that time he said, I will tell you about something about Prakriti also. I will tell you something about Purusha also, and how Prakriti and Purusha they combine, how soul comes in contact, or the Prakriti and how Jiva he comes in contact with Maya. So now in the upcoming shloka from 20 to around 27, I guess 20, 26, 27, these things will be explained. How Jiva comes in contact with Maya. That will be explained from shloka 20 to 26. So this will be quite relatable and quite helpful because as a Jiva, there is a great struggle when we come in contact with Maya and why Jiva was being sent in contact with Maya and how what was a bonding agent, what binds Jiva to Maya. So we'll just complete. I think time is already up. We'll try to just read 2021 quickly and how Jiva gets associated with the modes that we'll try to complete tomorrow. And maybe I think we can complete chapter tomorrow. Yeah. So 20 shloka. Okay, 20th shloka proof. Prakrutim purusham chaiva vidhi anadi ubhavapi vikaramscha gunamschaiva vidhi prakriti sambhavam.
कार्तिक महापात्र प्रभु.
Translation. Material nature and the living entities should be understood uh, to be beginningless. The transformations and the modes of matter are products of material nature. Dr. Sadai,
You can quickly read because now that's topic we are entering, so it will give a clarity.
by the knowledge given in this chapter, one can understand the body, the field of activities, and the knower of the body, both the individual soul and the super soul. The body is the field of activity and the composed of material nature. The individual soul that is embodied and enjoying the activities of the body is the Purusha or the living entity. He is one knower and the other is the super soul. Of course, it is to be understood that both the supersoul and the individual entity are different manifestations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The living entity is in the category of his energy, and the supersoul is in the category of his personal expansion. Both material nature and the living entity are eternal. That is to say, uh, that is to say that they existed before the creation. The material manifestation is from the energy of the Supreme Lord, and so also are the living entities. For the living entities are of the superior energy. Both the living entities and material nature existed before this cosmos was manifested. Material nature was observed in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavishnu, and when it was required, it was manifested by the agency of Mahatattva. Similarly, the living entities are also in him, and because they are conditioned, they are opposed to serving the Supreme Lord. Thus, they are not allowed to enter into the spiritual sky. But with the coming forth of material nature, these living entities are again given a chance to act in this material world and prepare themselves to enter into the spiritual world. That is the mystery of this material creation. Actually, the living entity is originally the spiritual part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. But due to the rebellious nature, he is conditioned within the material nature. Uh, it really does not matter how this living entity or superior entity of the Supreme Lord have come in contact with the material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead knows, however, how and why this actually took place. In the scriptures, the Lord says that those affected by the material nature are undergoing a hard struggle for existence, but we should know it with certainly from the description of these few verses that all transformation and influences of material nature by three modes of are also productions of material nature. All transformation and variety in respect to living entities are due to the body. As far as spirit is concerned, living entities are all the same.
See, although now Krishna is explaining that let's try to understand how Jiva comes in contact with Maya and how we came to the material world. But you see, Prabhupada is very clearly writing. What Prabhupada is writing? Uh, it really does not matter much so much now. How these living entities or superior entities of Lord have come in contact with material nature. Because we know in ISKCON or in general circle, spiritual circle, this is a very hot topic. Very hot topic. Jiva fall issue. And I again and again this topic comes up, keeps on coming. That where did we came from? Have we come from Brahma Jyoti? Have we come from Vaikuntha? Or have we come from Goloka? Or we were never, some people say that we were never in Goloka only, because in from Goloka nobody can come. Some people say we are in material world only from lifelong only. So there is a heavy struggle, and that we came from Brahma Jyoti, we came from Vaikuntha, we came from where? Because there is some one particular book written by one personality. Neither a leaf can fall from a spiritual world. Even a leaf cannot fall down. Means that is a spiritual world. So sometimes people argue that we have come from Brahma Jyoti only. We might be in Brahma Jyoti and we might have come from there. So Prabhupada said actually it does not really matter so much now for us, because entire life we may keep on arguing about this. Have we come from Brahman? Have we come from Vaikuntha? Have we come? And we may not even come to this conclusion. So he said, no matter. That's why no answer is given for this. If you go into too much research, they will always find same answer. That now we have fallen down. Whenever you go back to script, he said, Prabhupada says, no, Krishna knows very clearly how this actually take place. Only Krishna knows how this took place originally. So similarly, Prabhupada devotees used to say, no, when you go back to spiritual world, that time you inquire from Krishna because he only knows actually how it actually took place. You cannot ascertain that how this things placed. But in general, we know that we have come in contact with Maya and we have come in contact with material nature mainly because of the rebellious tendency. This rebellious tendency came into us. Now again the devotees ask, why this rebellious tendency came into me? What was the problem? There must be some problem in the spiritual world that I got rebellious. Otherwise, why should I have got rebellious? No, this rebellion is given answer of that we rebelled. Now, why we rebelled? When we go back, we can check about it. Why did we rebel? And one reason is given, Ichha Dvesha Samutvena. That Dvesha, the Dvesha came. And but Prabhupada is writing here that in this material world, now we have an opportunity to prepare ourselves to go back to spiritual world. And he said, this is the mystery of material creation. So he said, now we can act in such a way that we can go back to spiritual world. So I think we'll pause here for today. So we have successfully completed till now 20 shlokas. More 15 shlokas are there around. Tomorrow we'll try to go quite faster. Yes, Prabhu. Any question is there, Prabhu, or anything you want to clarify? There are 2 minutes with us. We can check.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in one of the slokana, you have mentioned the point that Lord is Nirgun and Nirakar. So Nirgun, we consider that it does not have any material qualities. He have spiritual qualities, and Nirakar, we consider that he does not have any material form. He have a spiritual form. We will conclude with this point, sir. So he have no form, materially no form, but spiritually he have some form. We conclude like this, right? And uh, and we find out in scripture, other various scripture, that Lord have multiple types of body organs. Like we have only one head, but Lord had multiple hands, multiple heads, and we see his broad root also, that he have so many uh, things are there. And one bodily part can use for the different purposes also. Well, they can exchange the bodily part also. That also we can say. And it is looking like, Puja, that Lord is, there is no objection for the Lord, that Lord have to be take the Lord form should be like the human form. So Lord can create the any form and do any activity with any form. Then how to understand, Puja, this point that Lord have really Lord is not Nirakar, matlab, he have some form. So it is looking like he can create the any form and there is no objection for him. So how to understand he have some form? How he is not Nirakar, matlab, he is not what can I say? Is not objection to take this form only.
Yeah, he is not restricted to one particular form. We say na about that what shloka comes about this, that Lord has many forms. He comes in different forms. Which is that shloka, bro?
From Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita.
Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam.
Brahma Samhita, yeah.
Yes.
Advaitam
Adyam Puran. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam. Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam.
Yeah, that also one shloka. One more shloka I'm just trying to recollect. Maybe tomorrow I'll start with this theme only. This very famous shloka which says about Lord is, the purport Prabhupada writes, Lord is not restricted to one particular form. He can accept any form, but still he has form. And Goloka Vrindavan is in the human-like form. Human-like form. So it is said Lord created human beings in his own form. And he is especially two-handed form of Krishna. In that section of universal form, in the discussion about universal form was there in the 11th chapter of Gita. That time they mentioned that Lord has two-handed Saumya form and the four-handed form. So there it is being mentioned. Lord is in the original form, in the original Rupa, Lord is in the form of a Sham Sundar with two-handed form. And that is his original form. But he can still have many other form like Narsingha, Vara, Kurma and all. Maybe tomorrow when we start, I'll just exactly show the shloka only to you. Prabhupada's purport about this. That Lord is not restricted to any form, but he has original form of Sham Sundar.
Love, my point is this, Prabhuji. At this point, I told Nirakar, right? Nirakar general meaning is coming as a no form.
Yeah, no form.
No form. So we conclude that materially no form, but we
Yeah.
told that spiritually he has form.
Yeah, spiritually has forms.
So it is not looking like we are restricting the Lord to must have, he have to be form.
Yeah,
While
so
Lord himself
we
telling
never
that
say, no,
I don't have
that's
any
why
form.
we never say that Lord. So whenever this question is being asked, is Lord personal or impersonal? What is the answer by devotees?
So devotees say personal.
What do you say?
Is both.
We say both. We don't
Both.
say that we do not deny that Lord is not impersonal. Yeah, as a government now we can, is government personal or impersonal?
Well, government is impersonal.
But there is a person behind that
Prime Minister
impersonal
is a
government.
person.
So there is a person behind that impersonal government. So we do not deny the impersonal aspect of Lord. So even this, there are something called as Brahmavadis. Brahmavadis. So these Brahmavadis, they know Lord is person and he is impersonal, but they are more attracted to impersonal feature of the Lord. So they know. But Mayavadis are the biggest enemies because Mayavadis, they deny the personal form of Lord. That is why Mayavadis are Krishna Paradi. They say that there is no form, personal form of Lord. Brahmavadis, they know that God is person also, is impersonal, but they are more attracted to the impersonal aspect of Lord. Like that. Yeah, surely. Okay, thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Svacha kalpatarubheshya kripa sindhu vatsa patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Shri
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad
Jai.
ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Krishna.
Great. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hari Bol.
Very good. Very good.